Aaron Finch. So um, every team will run into some issues or the other. So I think I would back India to make the semi-finals for sure. And once you're in the semi-finals, then it's two matches, two knockout games, and nobody really knows what can or can't happen. The one thing that is in India's favor is Australia is not a place where the toss plays a huge role in the outcome of the match. Just looking at the 12 matches that have just happened, teams that won the toss have actually lost 9 out of 12 games in the qualifying stage that has happened so far. And even historically, if you look at Australia, the team that wins the toss actually doesn't win the game as often as in the UAE. So the more quality teams will not be at the mercy of the toss, and that's where I think India are better placed than they were in the UAE.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Nirav?
Yeah, so I think basically we've had like Ravindra Jadeja and Bumrah injured, right? Otherwise, they would probably slot in. But we've got like decent replacements. And I think if you like look at like the broader composition of the squad, right? I've like said this before, like so I think T20 has like a template. And you see like earlier Indian batting used to go like a little bit slow at the start. One of the openers would kind of play a sheet anchor role. Usually that would be like uh, Rohit Sharma. But like now, what has happened is everybody's like attacking from the word go. You've got so what you have is like the top three top order batsmen play in like one particular fashion. Middle order batsmen, so like Surya Kumar Yadav, Deepak Huda, and Pant. So you have to choose maybe two out of these three play in a certain fashion. You got finishers 6 and 7. So Dinesh Karthik and like Hardik Pandya, who bat like well at the slog overs, the explosive end. Then like spinners, you got three. So to pick two out of three. So Akshar Patel and Ashwin are the finger spinners. Chahal like the wrist spinner. So finger spinner typically keeps it like tight in the middle overs. Uh, the leg spinner is more aggressive. If a team is full of left-handers, maybe Ashwin gets a chance. If it is more right-hander, top order heavy, Akshar Patel gets a chance. And then like quick bowlers. So you've got like four of them. You've got like kind of a variety. So like Bhuvneshwar bowls better in the power play at the start. You've got Harshal Patel who bowls better at the death with like a lot of slower balls. You've got Arshdeep who bowls Yorkers well and like left arm angle. And now you've got Shami who's got like genuine pace. So I think now again you've got to choose 3 out of 4. So you kind of covered all the bases. I think you'll have to have like a little bit of horses for courses. So in T20 the matchups are important. Which batsman is weak against what type of bowler, who bowls when, etc. Right? And do you pick a team? And the bowling form of I think if Huda and Hardik Pandya can get a 4 overs between them, right? Then maybe the team can accommodate an extra batsman. So maybe Pant and Dinesh Karthik both play or no. So I think there's a few of those things. India's got a good squad. I think semi-finals in all ICC tournaments has almost become like expected par for the course. And like as Mahek said, like you look at the odds of winning, I think like Australia and England are equal favorites at 25% each. India is about 22-23%. And South Africa follows. I think New Zealand also should never be discounted in these ICC tournaments, right? And so who knows? And and last thing I want to say, like in T20, even if you look at IPL or like Big Bash or any other T20 tournaments, right? On the given day, there's a 70-30 or a 75-25 chance between any two teams, right? Even the weakest team can beat. In the league, they win about 25 to 30% of the games. The strongest team basically wins about 70 to 75% of the games, right? So that's what makes T20 quite exciting versus like a lot of test matches at home, a home team kind of wins, is overwhelming favorite. Here, toss won't be that big an issue as well. Otherwise, you see the toss, okay, fine. Whoever decided to field first wins it. Stop watching the game altogether, right? That's what happened in UAE. So I think this is going to be a lot more exciting. It's going to be a lot more fun. And I would say India definitely makes it to the semi-finals. And from there on, we take it as it comes, right? I think like after that, it is like a 50% chance, right? Like 70% chance of winning the semis and 70% chance of winning the finals. So two conditional probability becomes like 49%. So I put it at that, but yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about the slightly more contentious part, right? Which is picking the 11. So I think our top four is kind of settled, right? And we know Hardik will be
Top
one
five
of,
is
yeah,
settled.
with if you put Hardik at five, uh, he will follow the big three and then Surya Kumar Yadav. Uh, the wicket keeping discussion is quite interesting, right? Because you could either pick one of them or both of them on the squad, depending on how you want to balance the team. And then you have again a question mark of which two out of three or one out of three spinner, and then which three out of the four pacers. So Mahek, maybe starting with you this time, how would you probably say start off on Sunday, right? Because maybe things can change based on form and other things later on. But let's say, how would you start the tournament?
Yeah. So I think the possibility of playing both Pant and Karthik is all but ruled out now that Bunga isn't playing, because you know that you need the cushion of a sixth bowler. So Hardik can't be your fifth bowler anymore. He has to be the sixth bowler, or part of the sixth bowler. So the question is who else plays in the bowling? In the batting, I think it's going to be Dinesh Karthik ahead of Rishabh Pant, simply because nobody else has been assigned designated the death overs batsman role the way Dinesh Karthik has been. So I don't think they're going to take that away from him. He will definitely play. So obviously Rohit, Rahul, Virat, Surya, Hardik, uh, Dinesh Karthik, Akshar Patel. This will be the top seven in my opinion. Arshdeep will definitely play. He has bowled himself into the 11. No question about that. I don't think anyone doubts that he will be in the 11 as well. So that's 8 out of 11 places that are certain. Now the question is three who are the three other players? You can either go with two seamers and one spinner, or two spinners and one seamer. And this is where it's really difficult to say. So apparently, the Pakistan openers don't score too quickly against off spin, which is unusual for right-handed batsmen. And that kind of makes the case for Ashwin to be in the 11, which also helps with lengthening the batting order. I am tempted to go for that option, which doesn't mean that I don't want Chahal in the 11. I think I want Chahal as well, considering it's the MCC and the boundaries are going to be huge. So I would probably have both of them. And the other seamer I would have is probably Mohammad Shami, um, because he out of Harshal Patel, Bhuvi, and Shami, he's he's the most likely to take wickets at the start of the innings. Um, so I would have him as the second seamer. So the bowling lineup would be Shami, Arshdeep, Hardik, and the three spinners is what I would go with. But I can totally understand if they decide to drop either Chahal or Ashwin and play Harshal or Bhuvi in the 11. My only reason for not picking Harshal and Bhuvi is they don't have the kind of pace that you need in Australia if you're going to try the short ball tactic. The MCC has very long square boundaries, um, and if you have the kind of pace to hurry the batsman up, it's going to be it's a wicket taking. The bouncer is a wicket taking ball there, and not just a restrictive delivery at the MCC.
Yeah. Um, One thing I've noticed is that Harshal typically gets picked whenever is he's in the squad, right? He's like de facto first choice, or that's how it often appears to me. But coming to Rajesh, right? What are your thoughts on firstly, let's say the Pant DK debate and then the bowling lineup?
Yeah, I think the Pant DK debate is all but settled. I think they have backed DK to play most of the matches, as I said in the run into the tournament. So DK should get the nod ahead of Pant. We should not make the same mistake where they to just back punt based on the matchups, right? I mean, it's important to play matchups in T20 as Nirav was saying, but it should not trump form and confidence that players are carrying into a tournament. So DK is a definite starter. Maybe as the tournament goes on, some of these players will get a look in, but DK definitely starts for me. And as Mahek said, even Akshar is a certainty for me based on again the form leading into the tournament, and generally, left arm spinners are effective in Australia to the long boundaries. They are both restrictive and wicket taking options. I won't be surprised if Akshar is also used at some point as a power play option, and Ashwin for that matter. I am just it's just how I see the team playing better, right? And I would also be okay if Ashwin or Chahal is back. Again to the long boundaries, Chahal can be a reasonable option, but I would still back Ashwin. I think he's a good power play option. I also think there are a decent number of left-handers if Fakar plays, if Shan Masood plays in the first game. If Kush still plays, and if Nawaz is pushed up the order, right? So you may need that off break option. So I would pick Ashwin. I'm generally never comfortable going into a T20 without three frontline fast bowling options. So I would not pick all three. Chahal, Ashwin, and Akshar. Although it's a tempting option, I would also select Shami for the both his extra pace and his ability to pick up wickets with a new ball. I think we talk a lot about power play runs in T20, but power play wickets are even more important, right? I mean, you have seen in IPL or any of the tournaments, any team that is picking power play wickets is generally a team that does well. Gujarat, for example, they were scoring the least amount of runs generally in the power play, but what they were doing better was picking a lot of wickets in power play, and that meant that they were always a force to reckon with. So yeah, I would back Shami. Harshal Patel is, I think we have picked Harshal Patel based on his 2020 and 2021 form. I was, really strongly shouting that I think Harshal should play in UAE under conditions that suit him also. And he was carrying, some good form, a good confidence leading into the tournament. Now he's coming back of an injury. Australia is not the kind of conditions that suit his brand of bowling. So I'm not very confident about Harshal Patel. So my second, apart from Arshdeep and Shami, my third bowling option would still be Bhuvi. Again, Harshal Patel. If any of these are struggling for form, Shami is pretty much an unknown commodity. We have not seen a lot of him. It's just that one over in that warm up that everybody is talking about, but. It's quite possible that he gets strong down. We have seen that with Shami, right? I mean, he sometimes he bowls at length that is easy to line up. So it's possible that we'll have to, going forward, drop Shami and back Harshal. But I think that's my starting 11 basically. The top six that you talked about, six being DK, and then Ashwin, Akshar, Arshdeep, Shami, and Bhuvi being the five bowling options.
Yeah. And what about you, Nirav?
Yeah, hi.
Any surprises in your ideas?
Oh no, so yes, as in like here, only like as you mentioned, right? Like we can't rely on Hardik as a bowler, and Huda doesn't make it to the team, as we've said. Like unless either somebody's injured or somebody gets seriously out of form. So like Rahul Rohit opening, Virat at like number 3, Surya Kumar Yadav 4.
Is there a case for pushing up Surya?
Maybe if like I think if the opening partnership goes quite well, then maybe Surya goes up at the drop of the first wicket. But yeah, so you got like these 3, 4, 5 Hardik, that's a given. 6 DK, that's kind of a given. Now 7 Akshar Patel, you would kind of like either now you're tempted that is Ashwin a good enough batsman at 7, right? So probably not, especially not for an international attack. For like an IPL type of bowling attack where there are like 2 international bowlers but a lot of local bowlers, that could be, he's done reasonably well as a pinch hitter, power hitter, a floater, batting all the way from opening to lower down. But so yeah, so I would have like I would drop Chahal, right? I would think like Ashwin can open the bowling, right? And Akshar bowls in the middle overs. So you've got that kind of a combination. And for like Pakistan, you don't need that many wicket-taking bowlers because they'll give you the wickets if you maintain it like line and length, right? Maybe I will drop Ashwin for Chahal in like later games, but I think for this game specifically, as Mahek mentioned, right, like Ashwin can open the bowling, so I think that's what I would have, and then the three seamers. So now it's a very tough call. So like I think Shami, he was not there in the squad, but I think he's a better bowler at the beginning. Harshal is a better bowler at the death. Now, do you pick Arshdeep or Bhuvi? Right? Arshdeep had like a couple, Bhuvneshwar and Arshdeep both had a couple of expensive overs in the T20s, bowling towards the death, right? Like Bhuvneshwar, a lot of time the 19th over was too expensive. So Arshdeep gives you like another angle. So maybe I will go with that initially at least, right? So you have like Shami who's trying to blast out the batsman, get wickets, and maybe open the bowling with Ashwin, right? Who probably kind of uh, keeps things tight or like forces an error. In the middle overs, you'll have like Akshar bowling with like Arshdeep, and then like towards the end, like Harshal bowls like bigger bulk towards the end, right after the 10th over onwards, like after the 8th, 9th over, and you rotate the bowling across. I think that's kind of like a settled team, and you look at like the Pakistani team as well, right? So now the big problem, like in terms of matchups, is our top three haven't done very well against Shaheen Afridi. So maybe I don't know, they're practicing in the nets versus Ashdeep or whatever it is, or through like those you know that sling which you kind of like whip and throw with a bowling coach. But I think the key will be for India to win will be India's batting in the power play. Like if India doesn't lose too many wickets and India scores like a decent number of runs, then I think that's a very important thing. And I think uh, I would be really tempted, but there's no real space to keep Pant as a pure batsman, but not like maybe in this game, unless like somebody drops form because you've got Shadab Khan and like you've got the left arm spinner, right? Mohammad Nawaz, spin bowling all rounder, and I think Wasim as well. So I
Imad
think
Wasim is not a good
yeah.
squad.
So sorry, yeah. So you got like two spinners which turn the ball into the left hander. But again, it's MCG, which is like very big boundaries. Maybe Pant could be caught slogging out, right? So that is one case that would have made for Pant, but then uh, at least for the first game, I wouldn't want to do it. And I think on these matchups or like horses for courses, I think if the team management can manage communication well enough, right? I think they do that in the IPL and that level. But it's not about somebody's a better player or worse player and manage the player's confidence well. It's just that this game, this matchup versus these guys kind of makes sense. And I think India, the group is uh, uh, basically Pakistan and South Africa, the other bigger contenders. You got like Netherlands, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan, if I'm not wrong. So,
Zimbabwe, not Afghanistan.
sorry, Zimbabwe, right? So basically, that kind of makes it a bit easier. I think the key matches, basically, you got to win the key matches. You got to win versus Pakistan. You got to win versus South Africa. Other things will probably take care of itself. There might be one room for one surprise, but yeah. So yeah, that's what.
Yeah. Okay, let's come to our favorite topic of discussion, what we wanted really to discuss, and that is what happened in the last 6 months, 12 months that the entire discourse became that I think it almost became sort of agreed by everyone suddenly that, our top three either should not all be playing together, right? Whether it is Kohli, Rohit, Rahul in any combination in the top three, or that, we are playing a sort of brand of cricket that is now outdated and, the rest of the world is sort of hitting, much faster, right? I was looking at the stats and their strike rate sort of varies year to year. On a bad year, it is in the 120s. In their good years, it is in the 140s, right? And they all sort of average around 130, 140 kind of range for the last 5, 6 years. And this is, I'm talking about T20 internationals for India, right? So I was also, so a couple of other things that I sort of listened today, listening to, Jared Kimber on his podcast. And one discussion they were saying is that the Kookaburra ball has got changed since the India tour of Australia, right? It seems the Adelaide Test match was the first time the new ball was introduced with much more pronounced seam and all that. So what that has resulted is that the average runs being scored are now a bit less, even in, let's say, 50 over matches or T20 matches, which means that the ball is swinging a lot more in the start, which sort of maybe helps our top three kind of our kind of team that we have, our team balance. And then the other point was, even in Australia, they're having the same debate with Finch and Smith, right? Whether they are too slow and should be in the squad, but it seems that even they have backed their players. So starting with Mahek, like, how do you feel about this debate, and where are you currently on this? Intent, strike rate, all these
So
kind of
first,
things.
I will uh, the Australia bit. I think it that comparison makes no sense because Smith was never even half the batsman that Kohli was in the
Kohli,
T20I format. So it makes no sense to even compare our situation, India's situation to Australia's. Uh, and Finch, the problem with him is he's out of form. It's not that he is someone who can't score quickly from the get go. He can. That's not a problem for him. The problem for him is form. If both their openers are in form, being Warner and Finch, Australia have no problem scoring quickly. And the thing with India, so the narrative became, like you said, that they were too slow. So in 2021, India's opening partnership was the fastest scoring partnership of any of the top sides in the world last year. Right now, if that is not fast enough, then I don't know what is fast enough. Fine, there can be games where they seem a bit slow, but at the end of the day, if over a period of time you are scoring faster than any other team at the start, then the problem really isn't that. In fact, the problem for India last year was they weren't getting any production from the middle order. Pant did not have a good year. Hardik did not have a good year either. Now that problem has more or less been fixed because you have Surya Kumar Yadav at 4, who's uh, probably one of the top 3 batsmen in the world right now, and you have Hardik Pandya who has the ability to pace the innings depending on what the situation demands. As a result, I think India should not fall into this trap of thinking that the openers need to go all guns blazing. Not every team has the luxury of having openers like Rohit and Rahul who have the ability to adjust to the pitch and what is the demand from the match. They have the ability to pace themselves. They have the ability to explode. I mean, Rahul, for whatever he does in the IPL, 50 innings into his T20I career, he had a strike rate of more than 140 and an average of more than 40. There are very few openers, if any, who can have that kind of consistency with that kind of explosion. So to reduce Rohit and Rahul to just scoring 15 ball 25s or 15 ball 30s is actually a suboptimal outcome for India. I would rather have them score maybe 40 of 25. That's a better outcome, in my opinion, than 30 of 15. It's a slightly lower strike rate, but it also means that the batsmen who are coming after them and who are now in form compared to what happened last year, they know that there are enough runs on the board for them to not worry about losing their wicket. We have seen in the last few months that India are very reluctant to send Dinesh Karthik at 6 if the fourth wicket falls before the 15th over. To the opposition, I think if they get India to send Akshar Patel ahead of Dinesh Karthik, that's a win for them. because that means that they've now gotten into India's lower middle order earlier than what India would like them to. So I believe that India should look to attack in a crazy way. I mean, sure, if you have a bad ball, you put it away. You go over the top in the power play, but in spaces where there's no fielder on the boundary, right? It doesn't make sense to take on the deep square leg just because it's the power play. You're better off going over deep mid wicket because there's no fielder there, or going over long on because there's no fielder there. The fielder's up. So take risks, but those risks have to be calculated, and the idea should not necessarily be to uh, aim to score 200 every game, but the idea should be to understand what the pitch is like, what the opposition is like, and like I said, the toss is not going to be as important here as it was in the UAE. So if India is smart enough, I think they will be very difficult to beat uh, for a side that isn't playing to the best of its ability.
Yeah. So I think one of the things probably that happened was we struggled to defend a number of matches, let's say in the subcontinent, right? So we may be scoring 180, 190, and teams chase us down in the final 2 overs, which means that we feel that we are not scoring fast enough, right?
But the
And
problem there is it happens to every team.
yeah,
What if I were to tell you that since the 2019 World Cup, India actually have the second best win-loss ratio defending totals after England?
yeah,
No other team has done better than India at defending totals. England are the only ones. And when it comes to chasing, no team comes close to India. India actually have a 9-1 win-loss ratio while chasing in the last 3 odd years since the World Cup. So the problem that happened is there were two matches at the T20 World Cup. India didn't play well, and they even dropped Surya Kumar Yadav for the second match. So there was a lot of knee-jerk reaction which wasn't needed. Uh, but as a result, we are now in a place where everyone thinks that the only way to bat for the openers is to go all guns blazing. And I mean, if anything, the last
I think
week will tell us that that's not the case.
if you remember the India-England T20 series, right? There was a lot of talk starting from the commentators themselves, right? That look, there's a new approach, a new India under whatever Rohit and Dravid and all that. So, Rajesh, coming to you, where do you stand on? Okay, we perhaps know where do you stand on this debate, but perhaps make the other case of why some people or a lot of people think we are too slow at the top.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't necessarily stand anywhere on on this debate. I just have my point of view on how I think the game should be played and how India should approach the game. Like first off, all of this noise in the media, with every captain and coach regime, there is some buzzword that is circulated. I feel, and intent is the buzzword for this regime. So I would not read much into it because I've seen games where that much wanted intent was also lacking, right? When I saw players who were not, I mean, as advertised on the box that they were not going for their shots from the word go. I saw instances, but anyhow, for example, when Kohli and Shastri combination came in, I remember the five bowler talk, if you remember, right? I mean, they were saying that we would go into every test match with five bowlers, right? And they would go in many test matches with four bowlers only, but then they would again come back and say, five bowlers. I know that they really tried and their intent was to, play five bowlers, but they were not necessarily doing it in every game. And plus, yeah, I mean, I think commentary box generally echoes whatever the BCCI wants them to talk about. So we leave that aside. The second point that I want to make is I genuinely get really bored when people talk about modern T20 game or a modern game should be played in this particular way. We have seen many examples of bowling heavy teams winning important tournaments in leagues across the world. IPL being no exception. We when we were sitting here discussing the IPL squads, right? I mean, we were wondering where Gujarat's batting would be, who would make those runs for Gujarat, right? I think Mahek and I, the only thing we liked about Gujarat and we were bullish on was the Gujarat T-shirt, right? But they showed, and it wasn't the only instance where a bowling heavy team showed that you can play T20 successfully. Pakistan is another example, and one thing I like about Pakistan is that they look around in their side and they see what they can do. They have realized that they have a strong bowling attack and they can defend 160, 170 totals, and they are backing themselves to do that over a course of a tournament. And if they continue doing it, even if with the same side, they might as well. I mean, they came very close to winning a tournament. I think they would have defeated New Zealand if they had qualified for the final. And they were, one freakish inning away from qualifying for the final. And they did it based on the template that suits them, right? So this whole cricket debate, I think it is as unimaginative as some of the Bollywood debates, where Bollywood is always out of ideas. So if one movie works, if one particular template works, everybody would try to make a movie on the same template. So a lot of teams
The
around the world
copycat
tend to.
industry.
Yeah. So even cricket discussion, a lot of times, so-called experts, they are just looking at very limited data, and then I feel the teams also feel pressurized, right? But the smarter teams, they look around the resources that they have and they create a game plan based on that, right? So India should, for maybe every tournament, right? I mean, 2022 they may have a different tactic. Going forward in 2024, they should again look and create a different tactic on how they want to go about it. I definitely feel that you should have a way. I mean, you should have a deliberate discussion before a tournament on how you want to approach, right? Sometimes that has been lacking, right? On the question of strike rates, I don't think power play strike rate was ever a complaint. When I complained about strike rates, it was more, more about some players going into their shells at the wrong instance in anything. For example, if you're getting off to a good start and you have not lost a wicket till eighth over, right? I would want whoever is the player batting in the middle, right? Or you have lost only say one wicket to the 12th over. I would want the batsman in the middle to attack a little bit more. I think that is something that I found lacking in some games, right? Especially on good batting wickets, batting first, where I felt that you could have attacked a little more, and that is something that I felt was missing. Not necessarily going slam bang from the first ball, right? That is not something that you have to do. Given that the choice of openers you have, we're not opening with Sunil Narayan here, for example, right? Where we are just as Mahek was saying, right? Uh, that brand of play is not the best use of KL Rahul's ability, right? And coming, whenever you have a discussion about strike rates, I think KL Rahul has been much maligned about his statements on strike rates being overrated and stuff like that. I think KL Rahul, as Mahek also suggested, I think as captain, he tends to take a little bit more pressure on himself, and tries to bat through and just win games. For India, I think he plays a bit more freely. Uh, I think we have done a lot of injustice to KL Rahul by not giving him a permanent spot in the team as a pure batter, because he deserves that on the back of a lot of performances. And I think he has, over a period of time, got really confused about what he has to do to retain a spot. Because out of those top three, KL Rahul is the most capable T20 batter if he's given the complete confidence to play his game, right? So it is his spot that should be the least negotiable, actually. His injury aside, I mean, coming back from an injury, everybody struggles, right? But leaving that aside, for the past 3 or 4 seasons, he should have been the person who should have been the first name on the playing sheet. The moment he fails, the moment he gets out of the first ball of Afridi or whatever, right? I mean, there is a lot spoken about him, but that should not necessarily happen. I think it's probably a collective responsibility of the board and the team management to tell him that he should get rid of the if any demons are there in his head, and just be assured that he's probably not giving him the captaincy. He may not be the greatest captains around, and that's a separate discussion. But as a pure batter, as a pure batter, I think he is one of the best going around. If he just bats with freedom and he plays his game, right? So yeah, I mean, just play the game that best suits your composition and your brand and your composition, right? So in this team, I think the best chance that you have, especially given the form that Surya Kumar Yadav has now. Before the tournament started, I, like Gambhir, also wanted to see Surya Kumar Yadav batting at 3 and Kohli coming in at 4, perhaps, just to, you know, I mean, it's not really about intent also. It's just about giving Surya Kumar Yadav maximum overs to make an impact, because, as Mahek said, he's one of the top 3, probably the.
I would still like Kohli to come in with the drinks, but we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, that if that was an option, right? Huda could have played and could have bowled a few handy overs, but yeah, that is not going to happen. So let's not even get there, right? So with Surya Kumar Yadav in the side and him being at 4, and he would always come in and tag. So I think, and a lot of teams these days, right, they are trying to attack after over 15 as well, right? Because the pitches stay true, and a lot of teams are capable of, have batsmen who are capable of hitting a lot of sixes. Surya Kumar Yadav being the top 6 hitter in world cricket right now. They talk about hitting huge sixes, Livingstone and Tim David, but yeah, I mean, if you hit the ball in the second tier, you don't get extra runs for that, right? So just the consistency of clearing the boundary, I think there aren't too many better than Surya Kumar Yadav, right? So I think we should just not pay so much attention. The team should not pay so much attention to all of this intent. Maybe they are just deliberately planting this in the media to silence the critics like us, like our ilk, who have been talking about this nonstop and making a show out of it. But I think they themselves also would know that they would probably prosper if the top 3, right? If one of the top 3 say bats throughout the 20 overs, especially if we are batting first.
Yeah, I think one of the big points that right at the start, I think Mahek mentioned, right, that with Bumrah out, we have lost the option of playing a batting all-rounder sort of at 7, right? And so the scenario that sort of worries me is what happens if you are like 70 for 4, right, in the 10th or 11th over, right? And you don't want DK to come in before 14, 15, ideally 16th over. I think they try to protect him for the last 24 balls. So I think that's the scenario to avoid, and that will get avoided if we play our natural game at the top, right? I mean, obviously you can have a bad day on some day, but if our batsmen play sort of normal cricket, we should be, 100 for 2 around the 12th over or something, right? So yeah, that's something to watch out for.
Yeah,
Let's
Ramiz Raja said that he told Shaheen Afridi to bowl that 100-mile Yorker first up. So if he bowls a 100-mile perfect Yorker first up, then it doesn't matter who is batting, right? I mean, if he's bowling that, then
so
we might
does
be
Rahul
7
take the
for 4 in
strike
third
or
over.
Rohit take the strike on on Sunday?
Well,
That will be
Rahul takes the strike since Rohit is captain.
yeah.
It's that simple.
So quickly, let's look at some of the other teams. So I think we all agreed that India should make the semis, right? So maybe starting with you, Nirav, what would be your who would be your semi-finalists apart from India?
Yeah, so I think on in India's group, I would bet on India and Pakistan making the semis. Maybe South Africa is the third one. Sri Lanka dark horse if at all, but so I think they are unlikely.
Sri
Sri
Lanka is in
Lanka
the
is the
other
other
group.
Sorry. Yeah. And on the other side, I would. It's like very obvious favorites is England and Australia, right? So they should kind of be the top 2 teams. You would see recently, like the host nation has like a lot of in all ICC tournaments. There were a lot of support and a little bit of advantage, etc., going in. So that is there. I would think it is India versus Australia semi, and then probably England versus Pakistan semi, and then whoever wins, right? So that's what it is. I think all these 4 teams, and maybe like you add South Africa and New Zealand, both are the next ones on each side.
So we have like basically 6 reasonable contenders if you add South Africa and
New Zealand.
Yeah. So Mahek, maybe from your view, like any particular ones you look at the thread, and do you have a different top four?
I think from the other group, the consensus will be England and Australia. They are by far the best teams in that group. Afghanistan, not really the best conditions for them. Sri Lanka as well. I mean, they just lost to Namibia, so clearly they're not as favored as they would have been if this tournament were in Asia. And New Zealand have a really bad record in Australia. So I would go with England and Australia from the other group. From this group, I think it's difficult to choose between Pakistan and South Africa, simply because Pakistan can blow hot or cold. You don't know if they will be consistent enough to pick. On skill, I think they're probably ahead of South Africa right now, simply because they have more weapons in the bowling department. Haris Rauf and Shaheen Afridi probably two of the top 5 fast bowlers in this format right now. And Shadab Khan and Mohammad Nawaz, I think are better spinners than Keshav Maharaj and Tabriz Shamsi. I don't know how batsmen get out to Tabriz Shamsi, but India always seem to beat the hell out of him. So I don't really rate him much. So if both teams play to the best of their ability, I think Pakistan would beat South Africa. But Pakistan playing to the best of their ability is something that you can't always take for granted. So I don't know. I would go for Pakistan as of now, but I won't be surprised if it's South Africa. Semi-finals, I think India match up better with England than they do with Australia. So if it's an India-England final, I would say India are favorites, and if it's India-Australia, I would say it's too close to call.
Yeah, Rajesh, what are your views?
Yeah, I mean, it would be as Mahek said, it will be very hard to look beyond England and Australia from the other group. You really have to go left field to pick any other team from there. Again, Gambhir picked Sri Lanka as a dark horse, but I would doubt that.
He held up their flags, so I think he has to now hype them up.
Yeah, unless you are some sort of a hipster, you won't pick any other team other than England. So I'm not saying that cannot happen. There is always likelihood of in T20 especially some other team just hitting some good form and getting through. But it's really hard to look beyond them. I would just make a prediction here just to make this discussion interesting. I'm saying whoever loses between India and Pakistan the first game would be knocked out. So if India loses, I'm backing South Africa, because I think the pressure of losing that first game, the overall feeling of deflation after losing to that game, after the hype, I think it plays on you. I think as in the New Zealand game, right, in the previous World T20, I think we just took that loss too much to heart. Right?
The only good thing is there is a gap in between the Pakistan and the South Africa game.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, and before we started talking, right, Nirav was making this point, right, that seemingly India, Pakistan, and South Africa are the only team that have that seem to be the strong teams in this group. But that also makes those two games against say, India, Pakistan, and South Africa must wins, because you don't really back other teams to pull off a upset, right? So if you lose one game, you are under pressure basically to win everything after that. In another group, you may back some teams to win a few games maybe and chances to open up, right? So I think whoever loses that game, although on form and on talent, I think India and Pakistan might be the two better teams, but South Africa are a fairly capable team, especially in these conditions. Tabriz Shamsi, yes, would get hit, but I like Keshav Maharaj, both for his spirited batting and his economical bowling. So and yeah, just a good array of hitters in their side. Miller being in good form, I fairly capable of defeating either India and Pakistan, especially if they have lost that first game. So I think all the spotlight on the India Pakistan game would kind of help South Africa to just qualify.
Well, for
Yeah.
Pakistan, they have the luxury of playing South Africa towards the end of the Super 12. So their penultimate game is against South Africa. So I mean, the pressure, it's a bit. So the India-Pakistan game is probably bigger for India because they play South Africa much sooner than Pakistan do.
Yeah, I mean, if India wins at least one of these two big games, then the Pakistan-South Africa match sort of remains open, right? Like either team can probably win and qualify with run rate and things like that coming into the picture also.
And India
So
could also get knocked out on run rate in that case.
I mean, the entire group still remains open. So maybe finishing off with one.
I would just miss a Pakistan Afghanistan match in the tournament actually with both supporters from fan groups from both sides getting at the same stand.
So you get an additional contest, on in the stands. So
Yeah, but there's no Bangladesh Sri Lanka either, so there's no Kattar rivalry.
Maybe India Bangladesh itself is to be watched out for with any waist high full tosses to Rohit being watched very closely.
But that kind of died down actually. That India Bangladesh rivalry has kind
That
of
moment
died down
has
over
passed.
there.
Yeah. So maybe coming to the end, any particular things you're watching out for, any particular player, like for example, big expectations from Surya definitely this series, right?
My
Probably
biggest expectation is from Ashwin, who he runs out at the non-strikers end.
Yes, the
Someone
spirit.
has to do it. If not Ashwin, someone has to do it in this.
So I
I
think
don't care who, but someone has to.
Yeah, Rian Parag said he will do it in the next IPL. I would select him just on the basis of that statement. just go and run 5 people out and never play a game again.
The American blogger, it's Peter De La Peña, right? I think if I'm getting his name right.
Yeah.
Like he will definitely be taking screenshots of all the overs. So
he's already doing it.
Yeah, so we'll probably see, we'll get a stat as to how many runouts which team missed, right? So yeah, anything like that you're sort of looking forward to, any particular player, any particular thing related to Australian grounds. Unfortunately, I see we are not selected to play at the Gabba, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But I was looking forward to that. Anything like starting with you, Nirav?
So I think, because India is kind of like expected favorite, etc., right? So India is playing at all the bigger ground, not playing at the where some of the initial games were there, like at small grounds at like Geelong, etc., right? So
there are no games at Geelong in the next stage.
Yeah. And second thing is I think the key player is definitely Hardik Pandya and Dinesh Karthik. See, because those kind of like explosive runs, and I would say like surprise pick is probably Arshdeep. Maybe Arshdeep can like mature enough to like hold a spot on his own, and he has a run of this whole tournament. So let's see, and I think that's what's going to be the probably X factor.
Rajesh, what are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, the run out first of all. Hopefully in the knockout stages, important game. India versus England would be massive. I mean, I would give up the tournament just for that run out. I mean, I don't mind if we lose that game and England crying after the game saying that cricket gods punished us. I would happily take that punishment head on. I would give up the second World Cup as well. Like if we run out 2 England players, let's say in the semi-final. But that aside, I would be looking forward to the par scores actually in some of these games. At least in the first stage, we did not see a 200 plus total. But that may not that may be a reflection of the hitting ability of some of these players because the England Australia T20 series was fairly high scoring. We had a 200 game and a 180 game. So that might change, but
Different venues.
yeah,
They were
different
different
venues.
venues.
Yeah. So on the longer ground, I would be looking at par scores. I would be looking at the impact of spinners. I think longer grounds. A lot of the teams who are you know who have just stuck in that template of hitting every ball out of the park. They may struggle, and maybe some classical spin bowling where you are going to prize out a few batsmen, especially on the longer ground, that can come into play. I would be, some of the newer players in Australia, maybe a Tim David or a Cameron Green, chance for them to shine. Every tournament sort of throws up this not necessarily unknown talent, because these days nobody is an unknown, right? Because all of these players are playing in leagues which are well televised, so every player has been scouted and explored. But yeah, I mean, I would be looking forward to one of these newer players to make an impact on the tournament.
Yeah, finally, over to you, Mahek. Apart from the run out, what else are you looking forward to?
I thought that was a good enough thing to look forward to. I I don't know. I think what uh, Rajesh mentioned about new names. I think Tristan Stubbs, Tim David are two names that are very exciting to watch out for. Just to see someone come up, that would be something to look forward to. But I think this tournament comes too close to the last one for us to expect a lot of new things. Um, like about a year from the last one, right? Um, so yeah, I think that's about it. Um,
Yeah, and maybe toss not playing a role. Like a lot of teams
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
are
guess. Yeah.
winning the
I
games
fully
as
expect the toss to not be as important
yeah.
in this tournament.
So basically, it's like batting second is not such a big advantage, right? I mean, that's the uh, impression we are getting right now.
Yeah, in the qualifying stage, four teams chose to bat first. All four lost, and that includes Sri Lanka against Namibia and West Indies against Scotland. So it wasn't even like the weaker teams were choosing to chase and then losing. It was actually the two favored teams opting to bowl first and then losing badly by 50 runs or 40 runs.
Yeah, I thought like the whatever little I saw, the bowling competence was pretty good among all these teams. I mean, leave aside the Sri Lanka or West Indies kind of things, but the newer names, they all seem to be bowling pretty well, right? Having their basics right and all. It was batting, I felt, where they are still there's a bigger gap with the big teams. So yeah, I think with that, let's wrap this one up. It was a very enjoyable conversation. Thanks to Mahek,
Just
Rajesh, and Nirav. Yeah, man, go ahead.
one thing before we go, and Neera pointed this out. We should give a shout out to Trevor Basevi, who
Yep.
sadly passed away. All the numbers that I have shared in the course of this conversation were all thanks to ESPN Cricket for Stats Guru, and Travis Basevi was the man who visualized it, developed it, and did all the hard work to give us cricket fans access to data that we didn't even know that we needed. So a name that isn't very well known in casual fan circles, but to anyone who has made a living out of covering cricket or just having really deep conversations about the sport. Travis's contribution, I think, is something that we should all remember. And yeah, rest in peace to Travis and condolences to his family and friends.
Yeah, definitely. I think ESPN Cricinfo is probably a site where I have sort of stopped going quite a bit, apart from Stats Guru and all the statistics, right? I mean, I'm not a big fan of their new layouts, their sort of very video heavy front page and all that, but there's almost nothing to beat their statistics, right? So
Yeah,
uh,
half the Twitter debates are settled based on who can do stats guru better, honestly.
Yeah.
So thanks to Travis for that. Yeah,
yeah,
genuinely rest in peace. Condolences to his family. Huge impact on how we look at the game. I think half of our punditry comes out of just exploring stats guru and just running
who,
those random queries and pulling
who
out
has
the.
the best ability to filter? Do use the advanced filter, right? Uh,
That's
that
my that's my
decides
default. Advanced filter is where the pros
the
play.
fun is. Yeah, yeah. So he will definitely be remembered and missed. So yeah, good to point that one out. And with that, let's wrap it up. Hope to see you guys soon. Maybe within the tournament. We'll see when we can organize the next one. So
Yeah.
thanks everyone and good night.
Yeah, thank you. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.